Hey guys, Mustang here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so now we're going to take a look at the STR Super Saiyan 2 Great SAIYAMAN that just got his EZA with the release of this latest World Tournament. This guy and the Cell are essentially like global Super and Extreme like counterparts to each other. I think when they first released, their passives were almost identical apart from the Super and Extreme difference, whereas now, post EZA, they have a couple of different abilities. On paper, I think the Cell seems a little bit better, but we're going to take a look at the Gohan here. I suppose the Gohan straight out the gate has better links, right, with things like Golden Warrior, Super Saiyan, Prepared for Battle, Saiyan Lineage, even Shocking Speed. He has Hero of Justice, which is a really good link, but obviously is not going to be active a lot on the Hybrid Saiyans or like Super Saiyans teams. But he's a character that you can use with some of these characters like the Gammas, Topo, stuff like that. So we'll take a look at what he does. We're running him on the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku team from Golden Week, one of his 200% leads. So his super attack is he greatly raises attack and defense for one turn, which is a 50% raise, supreme damage to the enemy, and lowers attack and defense. So that can be useful in some events. We also have Key 3, attack and defense 180%, additional attack and defense 20% with each attack performed up to 58%. So he starts off with lower start of turn stats than the Cell, but once he's attacked twice, he does then have higher stats than him, and he can attack 3 times to get the buff. He gives superclass allies 3 key, attack and defense 30%, and then an additional 10% for characters who belong to Defenders of Justice or tournament participants. So obviously he could work quite well with Topo and characters on that team. On this team, with a lot of the Buu Saga units, he's actually not going to be giving them the extra support. It's only going to be the 30%. He gets an additional attack and defense 58% when there's an extreme class enemy. Extreme class enemies attack minus 20%, defense minus 58%. Launches an additional super attack when facing one enemy, and guards when there are 2 or more enemies. So straight away, if you look at the comparisons between him and Cell, he can get slightly higher stats after he's attacked a couple of times for start of turn, but Cell gets 100% when attacking, and this guy doesn't. And Cell's super attack effect raises his attack and defense by 100%, whereas this guy only raises by 50%. And then the big thing when we're fighting some of these tough bosses in the game is when you're fighting one enemy, Cell has damage reduction, Gohan gets a guaranteed additional super attack, which, I mean, it is cool. He gets an extra super, he does a little bit of extra damage, he'll raise his defense again. But just by raising his defense again, that doesn't match up to like 30% damage reduction, right? Because it means he's just going to be raw defense. And guarding against 2 or more enemies, I mean, that's not going to be super relevant in really difficult content, because there's not a lot of, if any, of these endgame events now, because we don't really count Super Battle Road anymore because of how easy it is. So he's going to struggle against some of these tougher bosses. But we'll see what he's looking like here. He's got a lot of links active with the High School Gohan, who was, of course, an EZA from the previous set of World Tournament units. They work really well together. He gets support from him as well. And we know we're going to get a guaranteed additional super. But let's see. So 4 million. Because we had, what, I mean, Cell had a 60% support unit on the rotation, but his first attack stat was like 8.8. So Gohan does a 4 point something into 5. His super attack animation is kind of cool, but... And then, yeah, obviously he's going to tank from this guy, physical enemy, for double-digit damage, but... Yeah, I mean, he's certainly an interesting one. He is a Super Saiyan 2 character, so Super Saiyan 2 is a category that's been long left lacking without updates and buffs and stuff. I guess interesting thing, like Super Saiyan 2 Super Battle Road came out not that long ago, and I know people were saying like it was one of the ones that was a little bit more difficult for some people because that team is just terrible and hasn't been buffed for ages. So I guess this guy is a good buff for that, because in Super Battle Road, when you're fighting multiple enemies, he's going to have guard. He doesn't get the guaranteed additional super though, so it means he potentially is just going to do 1 super attack. So even though he does then have guard, he's not going to have the highest like, raw defense. So it's always very hit or miss with these World Tournament units when they get their EZAs, because some of them have been very good, like the Mr. Buu, Tech Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was decent when his EZA first came out as well. As the bosses then have started to hit harder, he's like a lot more of a liability. But I don't know why sometimes they kind of snap with these free-to-play EZAs, because the World Tournament cards are technically free-to-play units, right? And sometimes they do really great with them. That was a clutch dodge from Gotenks. I think we'd have died otherwise. Sometimes they do really well, and then other times it's just like, why even bother? Because I'm never going to use this unit. Like, in theory, not this guy specifically, but like if a unit gets an EZA and it's just like, well, never going to use this guy, then it's like, what's the point of them even getting an EZA? But because we got 300k defense start of turn, but bear in mind he doesn't get any defense on super. He did attack twice last time, so he got the 220% buff, so he can get one more 20% buff from his passive, and then his super attack raise is like only the normal raise, not, well, it's greatly raised, not massively raised, 50%. So he's at what, like after this next attack, when he gets the 20% and gets the greatly raise, he'll be at about 500k, and he does get a guaranteed additional super. So yeah, I don't know, he's like at most on this kind of turn, he's at most at like 600k defense, but with no other defensive tech. And this is what I'm saying, right? Like Tech Cell has damage reduction, this guy doesn't have anything else, so that means even some of the hardest hitting bosses that we're starting to get now, like on a turn where he double supers, he'll still take damage from their normal attacks, unless it is an enemy that can be attack lowered, because obviously the passive attack lowering is nice. Double super, and then of course if you give him a decent bit of additional, like now you could get the triple super turn, so he's raised his defense 3 times, so now he's probably closer to 700k defense, but again, that's then with no backup like defensive tech or anything. So you know, some normal attacks will still do damage to him if he only has 700k defense, but nothing else. And we're kind of way past, in the meta now, we're way past the point where that low level of raw defense with nothing else to back it up is good enough, right? So we'll do this. Do this. Yeah, the teaser thing, it could essentially almost be anything like Space Traveling Warrior related. Because it could be a Saiyan pod, it could be the Nimbus, it could be a Meteor, it could be any other kind of spaceship. Like, it's very typical Dokkan first teaser where it's very open-ended. Could be anything. And then, of course, you know, in like a week or so when the thing is confirmed, there'll be multiple people who saw this first hint and had absolutely no idea, but they'll be like, oh yeah, it was so obvious right from the start. Because I swear that always happens. Oh, Goku not dodging the super. Dragon Fist Goku should be able to tank this okay, though. Yeah. High School Gohan being sealed a bit annoying. Yeah, another Raditz. I mean, a Namek Saga, like, Saiyan Saga, like LR Raditz. Imagine if it was actually good, though. Like, that would be cool. Yeah. Alright, so on this turn we got Golden Warrior, Super Saiyan, and the Saiyan Lineage. 320k. So this is him with his passive fully built up. We got 320k defense. He gets 50% raise on super, gets a guaranteed double super. So at least after a double super, he's up to around 600k. But, as I've mentioned already multiple times, it's 600k defense, but like nothing else. So if he gets hit with a super, he's probably just dead. I mean, maybe not in this phase, because he has type advantage, but against a more significant boss. And as we mentioned in the Cell video, obviously Cell gets extra buffs against superclass enemies, which is what most of the latest releasing difficult content is versus. Whereas obviously this Gohan gets buffs versus extreme units, which we haven't had as many. I mean, we still get events versus extreme units, obviously, but Cell, I think, seems slightly better suited to the meta at the moment. Whereas this Gohan, it's nice to have that bit of extra support. And I mean, if you're throwing him onto the Topo team, he's giving a 40% support buff to units like Topo, Jiren, like, some of that could be incredibly good with the extra bit of support from this Gohan. And I guess on some of those rotations, if like you've got LR Jiren like dropping an absolute bomb of like damage, then potentially you just kill the phase before the STR Super Saiyan 2 Saiyaman actually has to take a hit in slot 3, because he's providing that support and making them hit so much harder. But I'm just trying to think, because like the toughest bosses in the game at the moment, even if we think about Extreme, none of them end with like physical phases, because like this guy would get absolutely destroyed by Kid Buu. Because even though you can lower Kid Buu's attack, his passive attack lowering is only 20%. And then once Kid Buu starts to get built up, he's hitting for well over 1 million damage normals. Which means that this Gohan, if it was just a turn where he just got the normal like 2 supers, like the guaranteed additional, he'd be taking almost 500k, if not more, from Kid Buu's normal attacks. And that's once Kid Buu gets up to the point of doing 1 million damage normals, which he can potentially, when fully built up, hit even harder than that. So, not great. And then of course, if we think about the tough super bosses at the moment, super tight bosses, we've got like the Beast Gohan event that ends with a physical phase, but is a super class enemy. God, we're losing so much health because of this stupid Buu like ability. Let me do this. Get our post super defense buff here. So we got 360, you're at 195, so give you those. Because yeah, Hero of Justice is a link that gives 25% attack. So pretty significant little extra bit of damage. But every character with a scout on their face or animation needs to have a link skill that gives 10% chance to scout supers. I mean, yeah, it's funny when characters who have a scouter don't have the scouter effect. But yes, Kid Buu just absolutely destroys this guy. So, I mean, he's certainly interesting. I think seeing his numbers, like, as I said at the start, like, on paper, Tech Cell definitely seemed better than this guy. Now, having actually seen them in-game and seeing the numbers that they put out, I would say it's fairly clear that Cell is better. I mean, lowering attack is good, like when we can lower attack, because he's lowering it from his passive and he's lowering it from his super. So that is something to bear in mind as well, like on the turns where he's getting a double super guaranteed and potentially a triple. He's lowering the enemy's attack with his passive and then he's lowering his attack with their super attacks as well. So I mean, it can definitely be useful, I suppose, but like that's the thing, even with Kid Buu, you start lowering his attack, he can still hit relatively hard. Wow, no super, nice. But I love using the Dragon Fist counter thing, and there's no super attack. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame, because like High School Gohan from last time, High School Gohan is decent, but they definitely kind of held back a little bit with him. And then I think that they've basically done the same thing here with this STR SAIYAMAN 2, where he could certainly have been quite a bit better without being like, you know, oh my god, he's like game breaking, he's the best free-to-play unit in the game. But he definitely could have been a little bit better than he is, which I think is a shame. Dragon Fist Goku unironically could get killed here now as well, because there's no super, so he just has to dodge everything, which fortunately he did. That's my least favourite thing about Dragon Fist Goku, is using the like standby and there's no super. I know you can, obviously, if you're... I don't like doing it in videos, but I know most people aren't going to care, right, if you're trying to beat a difficult event. But if you use his standby and there is no super, you can just reset the app and then not use his standby. But obviously we don't do that over here. Do we get a chance to actually get an attack off here? The problem is Goku's going to get the Dokkan attack, which will probably just kill him, even if I don't pick up the nodes or hit the nodes. But yeah, I mean, he's providing support to the team, which of course, you know, you think about maybe the best build for this AGL Super Saiyan 3 team, where normally I run AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku, Dragon Fist Goku, and then the other rotation is Tech Gohan and AGL LR Ulma Gohan. And then you have this guy floating around, giving them the 30% support. Like especially the Goku rotation is going to hit really hard. The Gohan rotation is going to be really strong defensively. The problem is then, of course, if you then just get super attacked in slot 3, then it's going to be a little bit awkward. But yeah, I would say full dodge and then the rest additional, because you can, if you get that third super, then obviously that will help. But yeah, I mean, even for a floating support unit, 4.8 million attack stat is not really anything to get excited about. 4.8 into 5.1. I mean, we can lower this guy's attack, so I mean, it's not like we're going to die here or anything, but yeah, this Boo event is super long. That's why it is good to use for showcases, but we're obviously not going to clear it all the way through to the end. Let me know what you guys think of the STR Super Saiyan 2 Great SAIYAMAN. I certainly think, as we said, the Cell is better. The card art is cool. The super attack animation is pretty cool. I would love to see like an actual Dokkan Fest, like Gohan in the Saiyaman outfit. Maybe with the animation where he goes Super Saiyan, like when he's raging at the Spopovich and Videl fight. Like, I think that would be kind of cool to have as a unit. But yeah, this guy, despite being kind of cool aesthetically, not really anything special. His only advantage over Cell is the teams that he's on and the links, which are, I would say, a little bit better, a little bit more suited to some of the characters that you're going to run him with. But overall, I would say it's pretty straightforward that Cell is better, especially with that Tech Boo team being as good as it is and being able to just throw Cell on that team as a support. One thing we didn't do that we did for the Cell one is throw the sticker on him, so let's do that at the end here and just see what that looks like, because he does have a Key Blast on the card art, which normally ends up looking pretty cool. Yeah, see, the sticker effect is definitely very cool as well. So there you go, STR Super Saiyan 2 Great SAIYAMAN. I mean, it's not like he got us killed, but he certainly wasn't super impressive. I mean, if he'd got supered by that STR Buhan, we would be dead. But let me know what you guys think of Super Saiyan 2 Great SAIYAMAN down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.